Hello everyone, welcome to English Now. This is Practice the Exercise, wherein we'll be discussing the chapter the verb, transitive and intransitive verbs. In this video, we'll be discussing 10 questions and their answers and explanations in the same video, in the same question. The video will be useful for competitive exam learners and fluent English seekers. So let's start the video with a quick revision what the verb is, so that you're able to reach out to your answers when you look at the question. A verb is a word that shows an action or state or happening. That is a verb. This talks about what is being done or what is happening. As you can see, an action, a state or happening. Let's understand this with some examples. She sings. Now sings is an action. He's happy. Happy is a state of being. The plant grew quickly. Now grew is happening. So these verbs tell us what someone or something does or is. Now after covering what verb is, let's talk about its type, which is transitive verbs. These need an object. The transitive verbs need an object. For example, she kicked the ball. Kicked is transitive verb because it has the object ball. Now what is intransitive verb? Intransitive verbs do not need an object. For example, the baby cried. Now cried is intransitive because it does not have an object at the end. Now there are some verbs that can be used both ways, in the transitive ways and intransitive ways as well. For example, the bell rang. Rang is intransitive as it does not have any object. He rang the bell. Now rang in this sentence is transitive because it has the object bell. Now let's talk about quick identification trick, which is going to be helpful for you at the time when you get the question. So you have to use verb in the beginning and use what or whom. This way you have to ask question. If you get the answer, then that verb will be transitive. And if you don't get the answer, then the verb will be intransitive. Remember this. This is going to be helpful for you in finding out the answers when you read the questions. So these are the 10 questions that are going to come on a screen one by one. I expect you to pause the video and write your attempts in the comment section. And later on, when we discuss the answers, you have to find how many did you get correct. So let's start doing that. Question number 1 says identify the verb and state whether it is transitive or intransitive. So let's see that. The statement is, the child broke the window accidentally. The child broke the window accidentally. Let's talk about question number 2, which says, identify the verb and state whether it is transitive or intransitive. The guest arrived late at night. The guest arrived late at night. Now we have question number 3, which says, in the following sentence, is the verb used transitively or intransitively? She runs a successful business. She runs a successful business. Question number 4. Identify whether the highlighted verb is transitive or intransitive. The birds flew across the river. The birds flew across the river. Highlighted verb is flew. You have to focus this verb, flew. Let's talk about question 5, which says, identify the object in the sentence and decide whether the verb is transitive or intransitive. The teacher explained the lesson clearly. The teacher explained the lesson clearly. You have to identify the object in the sentence and decide whether the verb is transitive or intransitive. So focus on the object in this sentence. Let's talk about question number 6. The verb walk can be used both ways. In this sentence, identify its use. Walk, you have to focus on this verb. He walked the horse around the field. He walked the horse around the field. Now let's talk about question number 7, which is find the verb and tell whether it is transitive or intransitive. The verb you have to find. The baby slept peacefully. The baby slept peacefully. Now question number 8, which says, is the verb in the sentence below transitive or intransitive? If so, give a reason why. The audience applauded loudly. The audience applauded loudly. Now focus on the verb. Let's talk about now question number 9, which is identify whether the verb is transitive or intransitive. The chef cooked a delicious meal for the guests. The chef cooked a delicious meal for the guests. Let's talk about the last question, which is question number 10, which says some verbs change their function depending on the sentence. Identify the use of the verb below. The door opened suddenly. The door opened suddenly. Alright, so these were the 10 questions, and I expect you to make your attempts as you would have done. With this, we are going to talk about part 2, which says answers with explanation of the same. So let's start doing that by reading question number 1, which is the child broke the window accidentally. In this statement or sentence, the verb is broke and the object is window. This way the type will be transitive, because if we ask question broke what, we'll get the answer the window. Since the verb has an object, it will be transitive. We understand that any sentence that has object will be transitive. Question 2. The guest arrived late at night. The guest arrived late at night. In this sentence, the verb is arrived and type is intransitive because it does not have object at the end. Why intransitive? Because if we ask question arrived what, we won't get the answer. Let's talk about question number 3. She runs a successful business. She runs a successful business. The verb over here is runs and type is transitive because it has a verb which is business or a successful business. Also, if someone asks runs what, and they will get the answer a successful business. So since you're getting the answer, it will be transitive. So the action passes to an object. Now let's talk about question number 4, which says the birds flew across the river. The birds flew across the river. Verb over here is flew and type is intransitive. Why so? Because if we ask flew what, we won't get the answer. Also, river over here is not an object. Across the river is rather a phrase showing place and not an object. It's not acting an object. It's showing as a phrase across the river. This is how it has been used in the sentence. Now let's talk about the other question, which is question number 5, which says the teacher explained the lesson clearly. The teacher explained the lesson clearly. Verb in this sentence is explained and object is the lesson, which is coming right after the verb. This way its type will be transitive. Why so? If we ask question explain what, we'll get the answer the lesson. Since we're getting the answer, the type will be transitive this way. Question 6. He walked the horse around the field. He walked the horse around the field. Remember, we have to focus on the verb walked. It's used both ways. In this, we had to find its type. We know that verb is walked and type will be transitive because it has an object which is the horse. Also, if we ask question walked what, we'll get the answer the horse. This way, walked takes an object, hence the answer. Let's talk about question number 7. The baby slept peacefully. The baby slept peacefully. Verb in this sentence is slept and type is intransitive because it does not have object at the end. Also, by asking slept what, we won't be able to get the answer. And there's no object as we have discussed, hence intransitive verb this will be. Let's talk about now question number 8, which says the audience applauded loudly. The audience applauded loudly. Verb in this sentence is applauded and type is intransitive. Now, why this is intransitive? Because if we ask question applauded whom or applauded what, there will be no answer or we wouldn't be able to get the answer. Loudly, you have to remember, is an adverb. It's acting as adverb and not an object. Now question number 9. The chef cooked a delicious meal for the guests. The chef cooked a delicious meal for the guests. Verb is cooked and object is a delicious meal, which is coming right after the verb cooked. This way this will be transitive. Its type will be transitive. Why so? Because cooked what? By asking this question we'll get the answer a delicious meal. We are getting the answer. This way this will be transitive verb. You got this? Now let's talk about the last question of today's video, which is question number 10, which says the door opened suddenly. The door opened suddenly. Verb will be opened and tie will be intransitive, because you can see no object is coming after this. Suddenly is adverb because it is ending with ly. That's a separate chapter we'll discuss later on. Also, by asking opened what, we won't be able to get the answer. So the door itself received the action. There's no object. Hence it will be intransitive. Alright, so these were the 10 questions of the chapter. The verb transitive and intransitive we have discussed. If you like this lesson, you can share your thoughts. We'll meet again. Until then, take care and thank you for watching.